Jerusalem, the holy city for three of the world's religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam. For Judaism, this is where the Temple of Solomon stood. For Christianity, this is where Jesus Christ preached his ministry. And for Islam, this is where Muhammad rode to heaven from the rock on Temple Mount. The Arabic name of Jerusalem is Al-Quds, the holy place. Jerusalem itself means city of peace, Salem coming from the word shalom, peace. Jerusalem is first mentioned in the Old Testament in Genesis 14:17-20, and this is where Abraham, the patriarch of Judaism, meets Melchizedek, the priest king of Salem, or Shalom, as we now have been saying, which means peace. Melchizedek is described not only as the king of Salem, but also as the priest of the Most High God. This priest king leaves Salem, goes to Abraham, brings bread and wine, and blesses Abraham. And so I suppose this is where Abraham becomes one of the early fathers for Judaism, Christianity and Islam. So who was this Melchizedek, this king priest who called Abraham to him? Well, some say he was an actual son of God, and others say he was just a messenger for God, a human being who took on the role of carrying on God's divine ways and teaching them to the peoples. Now, the actual origins of Jerusalem are not very known. It has been around for centuries, millennium even. The actual oldest written evidence of Jerusalem is on what are known as the Amarna tablets. These are a collection of ancient oriental clay tablets which were found in Tel El Amarna, which was the city of Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh of Egypt, the one who declared there was one God, Aton, the sun god. The reference to Jerusalem in Amarna is that it is a letter from one of the kings of Palestine who was dependent upon the Egyptian king Amenhotep III and his son Akhenaten. In one of the letters, the king of Jerusalem turns to Akhenaten with a request for assistance against the Chaparu. Jerusalem was perhaps under siege. Whether this king of Jerusalem or king of Palestine was actually a Jew is obviously unknown, and many believe that Akhenaten himself was the first Jew who took the monotheistic religion that he worshipped out of Egypt and into Israel and Palestine. Now, Jerusalem is also known as the City of David, King David of Israel and Judea, who conquered Jerusalem. He took siege of it when it was being run by Jebusite peoples. When he conquered the city, the Jebusites gave to David the city, saying, this is now your city. And so it became known as the City of David. David then made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom, which was of Israel and Judah. And he also brought the Ark of the Covenant there, which again there's much speculation about as to what it was. It was David's son Solomon who actually built a royal palace and temple in this city, and it was in this temple that he housed the Ark of the Covenant. Solomon ruled for quite some time, but after he died, his joint kingdom of Israel and Judah fell apart, and Jerusalem became the capital of the small southern kingdom of Judah. King David was seen as a priestly king, bringing religion and secularism together, and this is why he was so revered as this great powerful king with his wonderful city. Jerusalem was regarded as the city of our God. God will establish it forever, and that comes from Psalm 48. With no priestly kings to reign over the people, poor city seemed to fall into disrepute. Jerusalem was full of sinners, as is described in the Old Testament books of Isaiah, Ezekiel and so on. These prophets are sent to remind Jerusalem and its people, to remember to God really, to be faithful to their God and to their laws and their faith. The city seems to be full of murderers, rapists, thieves, rebellious peoples and so on. People who've turned away from God. And because of this, the city begins to fall apart. But always with promises that one day it will be sanctified, made beautiful again, and glorious. But for this to happen, there has to be a judgment. When Jerusalem has been purified by the judgment, then once again it will be the city of righteousness, says Isaiah. And then it will become the centre of the Messianic kingdom. And everyone will come to Jerusalem. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem, is written in Isaiah and Micah. Jerusalem will once again be the seat of a king, whose name will be the Lord our righteousness, it says in Jeremiah. At that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart, is written in Jeremiah. It is believed that a Messiah, a God King, will be returned to Jerusalem, and this homecoming will continue the city's rebuilding, become the city of God, and that will also be the beginning of God's reign as kings over all the nations, as it says in Isaiah. Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will lift up mine hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standards to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon thy shoulders, and kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens their nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face towards the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me, it says in Isaiah. During the building of the new temple, which is written about in Haggai, Haggai prophesies that God's blessing would once again come down upon the people of Israel. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, Yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens, and the earth, and the sea, and the dry land, and I will shake nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. So Jerusalem has always been regarded as being the holy city and will be the centre of the Messianic kingdom. Whether that is today or in the future, it can be seen both ways. The holy city is projected to the end of time, and the holy city is also the heavenly city projected to the end of days. And this is all written about in the book of Zechariah. Zechariah describes in his visions that there will be coming a time of salvation, and everything will be renewed, and the temple will be rebuilt, and Jerusalem will be elevated to become the holy city again. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea. In summer and in winter shall it be, and the Lord shall be king over all the earth, and in that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as a plain, from Geba to Remenon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, and to the corner gate, and from the tower of Hanil, and to the king's winepresses. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. It is prophesied that the messianic liberation of all the people, as well as the chosen people, will happen in the holy city of Jerusalem. Now the Temple Mount is a sacred precinct for all three religious faiths, Christianity, Judaism and Islam. The Dome of the Rock, as it is now known, is one of the most fabulous looking mosques I've ever seen. It's built over the rock from which it is said that Abraham was going to kill his son until he was stopped by the angel. It is the rock from which the Prophet Muhammad rode to heaven on his horse, his six-legged horse, led by the angel Gabriel. And upon this rock was also built, on and around it, the Holy Temple of the Israelites, where the shrine of the Ark of the Covenant was made. This was originally just like a tent, a tabernacle, carried around with the peoples, a portable shrine. But when the holy city was made, then that's when they made a building for this ark, somewhere for where it could stay. The history of the Ark of the Covenant tends to disappear, but we don't really know where it is now. There's many speculations. So the Dome of the Rock, Göbekli Sakarya, has a gilded dome on an octagonal base. And this is where the Prophet Muhammad starts his journey to heaven on his miraculous horse, El Buraq. Of course, these religions, Judaism and Islam, sadly don't seem to get along anymore, which makes it quite difficult for the Dome of the Rock, for Jerusalem itself, to be caught in this conflict, especially since it is the site for both of these religions' very important historical events. You know, both religions here should be obviously living in peace. It is the city of peace. What can we do for this poor old city? Jerusalem, the city of God, the city of peace, filled with fighting, filled with conflict. Now, I'm sure not all the people feel that way. There must be people there that are peaceful and are trying to spread the goodness, the love, the peace of the gods. Unless the gods enjoy war, which they might well do, since most of their religions seem to end up being very bloodthirsty, well, what I would call cults, really. Maybe that's why they're all brought to Jerusalem, the city of peace, to try to convert them to a peaceful way of living.